Hello again for you DuPont case fans. We're now going to show you some things that you'll find very helpful, we believe. So I take you back to the pod class we had just before this one on how to join your data. And you find that we're at the same spot we were at the end of that last video. And so what we want to look at now is what we call data exploration. How do we just find out what the heck we're working with? And so you've had the tools, we've kind of talked you through those things in previous examples, but now we want to do it with this data. And then finally we want to talk about how we're going to actually make computations inside of the data set using Tableau, so you don't have to go back out to Excel and work with it. So Michelle, first thing I need you to do is just say, how would you, as a person unfamiliar with the data, how would you attack it? How would you get your coordinate system in place so you kind of understood what you were working with?
Well, so since everyone was assigned a different piece within the industry, I would first go into your sheet 1. So clicking that. So you know that everyone has a different industry. So what I would do is filter based off of industry. So you see the 6 different industries, and everyone was assigned a different one during class to look at. So
initially we could click them all.
Initially we could click them all. So let's do that just so we can look at everything. So we'll do that, and it's just in filter ready for us when we do want to filter to our specific industry. So first you'll probably want to look at your industry, your name. So that would be the names of the different companies within that specific industry. So you can see within capital goods, these are all of the companies that are listed, and you can scroll down. Now consumer industry has all their companies, finance, and etc.
Can you remind me again what that ABC column is telling me?
So ABC is telling you that you can fill it in with a specific piece of data. So right now we just have the industry and name, but do we want to look at cash? Do we want to look at,
let's look at total assets.
Okay, so what you're going to do is scroll under measures and go down to total assets. And what you're going to do, if you remember from previous videos, is drag this total assets pill over on top of the ABC. And look, now it's showing you your total assets. And say now after that you want to see another measure. Professor West, what other measure do you think we'd want to look at?
I always want to know sales. I got to know sales.
Right, so where's that?
In this case, it's net revenue.
Net revenue. So what we're going to do is drag that over on there as well. And now we have both net revenue and total assets on there with a column name, so you know which is which.
So this is starting to sound an awful lot like a DuPont model. Specifically, this is going to be one turnover. This is going to be revenues divided by assets. So and we'll get to computations, but ultimately now you've kind of got this thing set up. So what else would you do to kind of understand the data you're working with?
Okay, so now that we have those things up, and right now we still have every industry and all of the names of companies, let's go now narrow it down to our specific industry we're going to look at. So what you're going to do is click Edit Filter, and within that filter, see we have all of them selected. So we are just going to look at, say, consumer services. Okay, so now we just have that industry, consumer services, and all of their companies listed with their net revenue and total assets.
Very cool. And so now I can take that apart. So visually, how would you approach that? To kind of look at how these companies fit together inside of the overall consumer services setup.
Okay, so what we could do to do that is we could look at the Show Me tab and decide what different pieces we wanted to look at. And specifically when looking at so many companies like this one, I like to use tree maps. And a way to do that is you can click on that tree map, and now, as you can see, you are looking at all of the consumer services based off of net revenue and total assets. So right now, let's drag net total assets out. So now we're just looking at the sum of the net revenues for each of these. And right now it is looking at the size is showing the different revenues. And another way we can do that is get this under measures, this net revenues pill, and we can drag that over color, and that will also show. So then on the right you can see that what the different color is showing based off of net revenues within this consumer services industry, and the companies within that.
Okay, so you've introduced us to a tree map. Is there some other thing you would look at to maybe like a bubble or something like that that's another option?
Yeah, so another one that you could do would be the packed bubbles. That's another fun one to show size and the vast difference between the net revenues. So as you can see, Walmart is completely demolishing the rest of the industry, and Home Depot, Costco, Amazon, all of them are there with the different sizes.
So now, that's pretty bland. How do I make the bubbles a color?
So what you're gonna do is drag this net revenues again over to color, and then it has that. And if you really want to change the color scheme, what you can do is click on the color, edit colors. So this is more just a visual aspect. If you wanted to change that for your own purposes, you could choose any of these different ones. So we'll go for green, and then it shows it in the different shades of green. And
oh, very cool. All right. So then if we go back and say we've got these measures up in our spreadsheet, and one of the things I'd like to be able to do is calculate a what do we say, turnover? Was that the one we were talking about?
Margin.
Or margin. So
yes.
let's go ahead and calculate a sales margin first, because we know we're going to need that also for the DuPont analysis. So how would I do a calculation inside of Tableau?
Okay, I'm just going to go to a new worksheet so we have a blank slate to deal with. So when we're looking at creating a calculation within Tableau, what you're going to do is under dimensions, you see this little arrow in the top right. So what you're going to do is click that and then create calculated field. And then you're going to add a little title for it. So we're going to name this margin. And then, so the two variables you're looking at is...
I'm going to use the net income.
Net income. So you're just going to type it using your keyboard, net income, and you can see it pops up. The measure pops up. So you know it's there and it exists, and you can just click it.
And then I'm going to divide that
it
by net revenue.
And then once again, you just type in net revenue and you see it pop up. So then you click net revenues.
The excitement is building. Okay.
So now you have your calculation in there. You can see your net income and net revenue, dividing those, and you're going to press OK. And look, in the bottom left corner, you can see margin now pops up under measures. Exciting. So
you need to sound more excited. Not an accounting major. That's all I know.
What you can now do is, okay, let's drag this industry in. I'm just gonna do this real quick. This is what we were doing before. So you're gonna just get your industry real quick, and we're going to get the name of the company and the margin. Okay, so now look, this is the consumer services industry, looking at each company and their margin.
So you've been able to calculate things, so I don't have to go back out to Excel to do the calculations and bring this back in. And you got a visual that gives me some insight into this. The only thing that might be missing here is going to be years, because right now this is just a sum of all the years, right?
This is 2013, 2014, and 2015.
So that's another thing for you to think about as you go forward in terms of how you want to put the dimensions together. But at the end of the day, I hope that helps you, and clearly Michelle knows more than I do. So once again, we validated that hypothesis. So I hope this helps. See you later.